Welcome to Room 21, an educational experience like no other, where we combine the eMINTS instructional model and Fort Zumwalt district curriculum. When you first found out that your child would be in an eMINTS classroom, you may have wondered what's so different. Upon entering Room 21, you will first notice the physical differences. In our classroom, there are no desks. Instead, students share a table and a computer. You will also notice the smartboard, projector, and scanner. These things are used for teaching lessons and for presenting projects that the students create. There are also philosophical differences in an eMINTS classroom. The first difference in teaching that you will find is that students are participating in inquiry-based learning, where they are constructing their own knowledge by figuring out how they are going to learn what they need to learn. In an eMINTS classroom, the role of the teacher changes to facilitator instead of lecturer. eMINTS also stresses cooperative learning. During cooperative learning, students work in pairs and groups to complete projects and assignments. They also work together to solve problems. But why the differences? In August of 2007, I received a grant to become an eMINTS classroom teacher. In order to become certified, I had to complete over 200 hours of professional development and complete a portfolio of work that included a website, webquest, and lesson. In May of 2009, I completed my work for eMINTS certification. I was also a member of the first 100 eMINTS METS grant winners. As I said, in order to become certified, I had to complete a website. My website is mrsschwartz.com. At mrsschwartz.com, you can find links for math, science, and social studies online textbooks. You can find many games to practice your skills that you are learning, as well as different activities to practice those skills. There are resources for all projects, a link to the assignment notebook, spelling words for each week, a lunch menu, classroom newsletters, and a link to our Moodle. What's a Moodle? Well, a Moodle is an online classroom. Moodle stands for Modular Object-Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment. Pretty much, kids can click on there, they can blog, chat, respond to discussions, and turn in assignments. This also lessens the amount of paper that is wasted in the classroom. We do many different activities, and in November, we completed a Thanksgiving activity all through the Moodle. To prepare for the 2008 election, the students researched the candidates, learned about the process to become president, and learned about the different political parties. They also made a prediction of who they thought would be the president based on state standings. We colored a U.S. map. After the election, the students referred back to their data and the map to see if their prediction was correct. During the Thanksgiving Day activity, students are given the task of preparing Thanksgiving dinner. They work in pairs and decide who will be on the guest list. They then create an invitation to send to their guests. After this, they are given a budget and they use the online store ads to figure out a grocery list. The students had to figure out a total cost and change. To study the American Revolution, students watched short parts of videos on History.com, the History Channel's website. After watching each segment, they had to write 1 or 2 questions down that they had remaining in their heads. After watching 10 episodes, the students had to write a 2-paragraph essay about what they were still wondering, and how they would find those answers. Another activity we participate in our classroom is WebQuest. In a WebQuest, groups of students are given a problem and then have to solve it. They are given many resources, and usually each student has a specific role that they will play in completing the WebQuest. To become eMINTS certified, I had to write a WebQuest. For that, I wrote Time to Travel. I loved writing that WebQuest and ended up writing a sequel, Time to Travel Again. I have also modified 2 WebQuests that we complete in class, PoetQuest and Human Habitat Mission. In Time to Travel, students find themselves in the classroom with a time machine that I have purchased. However, when the students crawl into the time machine explodes, sending them to 4 different regions of North America. While in those regions, the students research the Native Americans who live there, learn about their housing, their life, their food, and then they report back to the classroom what they had learned. In Time to Travel, students realize that maybe Mr. Schwartz has actually tricked them and hasn't really blown up the time machine, but instead done it on purpose. In Time to Travel Again, the students find themselves with the time machine back in the classroom. However, this time they are given the option of which explorer's life to return to. They are sent to the birthday of that explorer, and then they follow their lifetime. They write a diary with 10 entries about important events that occurred in that explorer's life, and then they can come back home. In PoetQuest, students watch a slideshow presentation that goes over the various terms used in poetry. After this, they learn about 5 styles of poems: haiku, diamante, cinquain, limericks, and an introduction poem. They then write one of each of these types of poems. I then have a coffee house where the students get their chances to read their poems and we cheer each other on. In Human Habitat Mission, students are aliens who are sent to planet Earth and they capture a human being. They then have to build a house that will support every body system that the human being has. So they have to create a room that would support the digestive system, a room that would support the excretory system, a room that would support the muscular system. After learning about the eMINTS classroom, you are probably wondering, how will eMINTS affect your child? The first positive effect I have seen is a growth of independence. Even though we do a lot of cooperative learning, the students do have to still work on their own. I have seen students become very independent, more than I saw in my classes before I became an eMINTS teacher. Another positive effect of the eMINTS classroom on your child will be an increase in cooperation. The cooperative learning really teaches the kids how important it is to cooperate and how much easier things go if you do. Students seem to be more accepting of one another as well. I find that the inquiry-based learning allows kids to learn in their own ways, and this allows some of those talents that you don't see in a non-eMINTS classroom shine. Due to the inquiry-based learning, students naturally become more curious and eager learners. They ask more questions and want to know more answers. Responsibility is another trait that I see increase as the year progresses. Because of the cooperative learning, the students have other people relying on them. If students aren't responsible for themselves, the group fails. Students realize the importance of being a responsible member of their group, and it rubs off on their individual work as well.